So I want to start this video off right away by saying this is not a reaction video to Mkbhd'S video. This is more or less my thoughts and opinions after watching the video. I'll leave a link down below in the description if you want to watch it for yourself. But let's go ahead and talk about it because he reviewed the Google Pixel Fold. And being someone who I make countless videos on this channel about all types of foldable phones, whether it's the Surface Duo 1, 2, Z Fold 2, 3, 4, and now obviously 5, and the Oppo series, the Vivo series, Huawei, OnePlus, I made a lot of videos, okay? Nonetheless, though, he talks and reviews the Google Pixel Fold. And for the most part, this video of him reviewing it is more or less all negative. And the last time I saw him be this negative about a foldable phone, because he's actually very positive about the Z Fold series, was, of course, during the Surface Duo series. Surface Duo 1 and 2, and I believe he actually had the Surface Duo 2 as his worst phone of the year. So, let's be honest, Marquise Brownlee, he knows what he's talking about. He definitely does. He has reviewed millions of pieces of technology. He knows better than the average consumer will about, foldable, well, about any type of technology, including foldable phones. And let's talk about some of his critics, right? Oh, not critics, but comments about this phone. Number one, he does bring up the cameras. And I'm trying to see if I can try to skip forward in this video to the point where he talks about them. But he does mention how, yes, the cameras are not going to be as good as the Pixel series cameras. Because, of course, it's a thinner phone. You have two screens on top of each other. And you are going to have to, in all seriousness here, you're going to have, less space for a sensor. So, it's not like, this is going to be comparable to a Galaxy Z Fold 5 in the camera department. It's not going to be comparable to a Surface Duo 2 or, you go on from there, right? It's still a really great camera, and he does show video of him recording with it and taking pictures. And to be honest, for what it really is beautiful. Like, when you think about this being a first-gen product, it actually really is beautiful. Again, that's why I've said many times with the Google Pixel Fold, my biggest problem is that $1,800 price tag. The $1,800 price tag puts you in a premium category that's hard to go against, right? Because if I'm asking you to spend $1,800, you're expecting to get the best of the best. If I tell you, hey, listen, $1,800, but you're going to get all these caveats, it's not going to work, right? Number two he talks about is, of course, the bezels. And this is something that people have mentioned pretty much since the very beginning when this phone was first shown off. And again, the bezels are there. I mean, you're not going to get away from it. It's kind of like the Z Fold series with the crease. How, some people don't want to buy the Z Fold series because it has a crease. That's a big problem to a lot of people. They're there. Maybe next gen or next year's version of the Google Pixel Fold won't have bezels. I don't really think they're that big of a problem. I've said many times, the Surface Duo 1 alone, I have no problem with the bezels being that thick on the Surface Duo 1. It's actually okay for me. But I don't really have much of a problem. I know some people do, but at the end of the day, you get used to them. I promise you that. That's one thing I will say about the bezels is eventually you just get used to it. It's not, that much of a deal breaker than you might think. Now, obviously, it's not I know, people hate on the iMacs or the Macs. They hate the notch on the top. There's software you can get rid of the notch. You can't really get rid of the bezels, but I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Number three, he does talk about that is actually a huge deal, and it pains me to see this because it's the same problem that Microsoft fell into with the Surface Duo 1 and Surface Duo 2, and that is YouTube and different applications are not optimized for this display. And listen, at the end of the day, I understand. There's not that many foldable phones that are successful on the market. There's not as many developers who are producing apps and developing things for these foldable phones. I understand that's just a point of how it goes, right? That's just what we have to accept as, fans of this industry. But if you're Google and you have all that money and you have all that connections, you gotta have at least, even Microsoft for the problems they've had, they at least had Xbox Game Pass optimized for the Duo 1 and 2. They at least had YouTube optimized, and then so on and so on. They've had some applications. They actually had a whole entire part of the Google Play Store that was just optimized for the Surface Duo 2 when it came out. I get your first-gen product, but when you're asking $1,800, you gotta have these things optimized. You can't go into releasing this product and half the applications don't work for the phone. Because then it's like, okay, am I really using a foldable phone, or am I just using something that's going to be buggy and glitchy? And that's not, again, if you're charging $1,000 for it, you can get away with it. Can't get away with it at $1,800. You can't, because at that price tag, it's going to be a problem. Now, he does mention some really cool features about the Surface Duo 2. I'm sorry, Surface Duo 2. Google Pixel Fold, and I'm thinking Microsoft. Pixel Fold is that it is water resistant. That is another really good selling feature. But he does mention the battery life is pretty dog water. And, again, based on what I understand, this is nothing new with the Pixel series. I have never owned a Pixel phone, let alone want to. I've had a couple of friends own Pixel phones, and they have told me horror stories of software problems. I know last year there was a huge software problem with the Pixel series. Apparently, this is a common thing with battery life being absolutely dog water, which, again, that is like... And again, another thing that it does not support stylus, any kind of stylus on this screen, which is a huge L, because that's something that the Z Fold 3 actually introduced, and you would think would be 1000% on this phone, especially, again, if they're trying to sell it as a multifunctional device, multitasking device. But battery is the key, is the king. Like, if you aren't, honestly, and I'm going to be honest here, I'd rather have a better battery than waterproofness on my foldable phone. To a certain degree. To a certain degree. Time out. To a certain degree. Like, I'd rather have the bare minimum waterproofness. And I'm talking about, like, maybe IPX8 is what, the true 30 minutes at 5 meters. That's IPX8. I'd rather have, like, one step down from that. Just give me battery on this phone. Right? I don't want to go, and this is the biggest problem with the Z Flip series, with Z Flip 3, was the battery was so crap after 4 hours, you have to charge your phone. And while, yes, it's cool, like, oh yeah, I have a flippable phone, if it's dead half the time, then who cares you have a flippable phone? And we spent $1,800 on this phone, you need this battery to be great. And based on, the specs, the battery looks great, but according to Mkbhd'S, it's not great. Which I'm hoping that, this is just a, kind of your users or your, what's that expression? Like, it might just be you, right? It might just be your device or how you're using your device, and it's not, like, for everybody. But he does mention in this video that in the Google Pixel universe, that over time, things get worse. And I'm hoping that's not the case, because again, like I said, I want to see this phone succeed more than anything. I really, really, really want to see this phone succeed more than anything. Especially because, again, this phone succeeds. Now we have, actual competition in this industry. More competition, better for the consumer. Actually getting, good products. And it's disappointing to see this video and then, again, lots of me hear all this negative stuff. And, he's speaking the truth. I mean, obviously, he's not going to lie. He's not going to bullcrap. He did the same thing about Surface Duo 1 and 2 and those phones. I love those phones. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of problems with those phones. And I think he did a really good job on highlighting the problems on those phones, and he's highlighting the problems on these phones, on this phone. And again, it's like, because $1,800, you can't really, skirt the fine line here, right? You can't really skirt around things because, again, I'm not spending $1,000 on this phone. I'm spending $1,800. I want it to be perfect, right? I already pre-ordered this phone. My pre-order got delayed like twice now. But with that being said, I'm hoping that, I have a different opinion, right? I'm hoping things are different when I get it. But this is the last thing I'll talk about. He talked about how the phone never actually goes 180 degrees, which is actually another thing on the phone that people do not like, is that it truly goes like 170 degrees and never fully goes flat. You can make it go flat, but then it feels like you're going to break it, but it never goes flat. Yeah. It's just, again, it is a first-gen product, and you have to remember that. It's such a weird concept to say this, right? Because when this Duo 1 came out, the Duo 1 was $13.99 when it came out. The Duo 2 was $14.99 when it came out. But Duo 1 was $13.99. And that's what you had to remember, and what a lot of people were saying, and it was true, was that it's a first-gen product. It's just hard to really say it's a first-gen product when you're spending as much money as you are on it, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, let's say, oh, it's a first-gen product. Okay, cool. But you just lost $1,800 on that phone. It's such a... It's interesting. Guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.